Today, we're looking at another old film camera. This is the Kodak Junior 616 Series 2 in a case. It did come with this leather case. This, and like so many of the other cameras that we'll be looking at, came from my dad. I really appreciate it. He's been able to find some auctions of older cameras that he then sends to me. We have a pull tab here, just a little piece of metal that folds up. You push the button in order to release it, and then the actual whole entire, now it looks like a camera. Now this is a little bit stuck. It's pretty old. The original 616 was made from 1934 to 1936. The Series 2, what we have here, looks like it came out in 1937, and they made it until 1940. It's got a folding bellows that just extended here. These parts could use some grease, some cleaning up. I did the best that I could to just kind of clean off a bit of the gunk and get it back. It's still stuck. It requires quite a bit of force to pull out. I imagine that wasn't what it did originally, but there it is. This is the camera. Unlike all the other Kodak cameras that we have in the collection so far and have looked at previously, which took 620 film, this took 616. That's why it was called the 616. Film opens up here. There we go. We can pull the back plate off. You've got your roll here and a sign saying use only Kodak film, and it tells you a couple different options for what they called things like Verichrome V616 or SS Pan SS16. Panatomic is an F616. Oh boy, it was patented. It tells you to look for the ones that are in the yellow box. Pretty cool. It told you exactly what you needed, but they would use 2.5 inch by 4.25 inch exposures. You'd be able to load up a roll with 6 photographs, and then your winding knob was here, and it would wind them over the exposure. And it did have the little red, so similar to the other ones that we've seen. I saw a lot of things online when I started looking this up and trying to research exactly what we had here. There's a lot of different versions of this. It seems like this time period they were releasing 616 and 620 cameras that were very similar. So I don't know if there's anything specific. I couldn't find a whole lot about this, to be honest. I found a fair amount about the original, but then the Series 2, and that's kind of how it comes out. For these cameras that we find, there's not always a huge technological leap between versions. But this one is different, and it's got a fair amount of features to it as far as setting different f-stops or the different lenses options that we had. This one says it's a Kodak bimat. There were other versions for sure, and I even saw different versions with this shape around the outside here where you would either see a round version or this octagonal version. Now, here, let's see if we can't give you a little bit of a closer look. There we go. You can see a couple different options on here for what you can set your f-stop or your shutter speed. Very cool. The Kodak bimat lens is what it says on there. And then this little bit here, this was the kind of camera that you would hold at your waist and look down through the top. So you'd be able, this is your viewfinder looking out the front here. It's not exactly what the camera's going to see, but it's pretty close. I did find that there was another version of this as well that had a fixed focus. Not this one. This one had an adjustable focus. The little dot there on the lens is telling you which way. Oh, it goes over there and all the way around, and it's different areas of focus, which is interesting because it's this huge gap between here to here where it says between 8 to 15 feet or 5 to 8 feet or beyond 15 feet, all of these different things on here so that you could adjust your focus. Now it's pretty old. It's not exactly perfect. I can look through here and I can get a pretty good idea of what I'm looking at on there, but I would want to hold it way closer to my face, and it doesn't work that way because it's a reflective thing. It's meant to be held down by your waist. As with so many things lost to time, I couldn't find specific manuals about this, unfortunately. I couldn't find a lot of advertisements or anything. I found the best I could find was a review from 2008 with someone who was also looking at old cameras. They say that the original version of this, the Series 1, was $40 when it released. And then they took this. They didn't use the cooler body design of an Art Deco, something we've talked about before in the past was what they called when they put specific designs on there. This one, they just kept all the internals, added a few improvements, and then made it a more plain body, and they sold this version for $12. $12 in 1937 is $268.34 today. So it's not the most expensive camera we've ever looked at, but it certainly wasn't cheap. But I guess it was when you consider that the original was $40. But that's about it. there really wasn't all that much I could find online about this. Maybe I'll have to revisit it in the future when I can find some better resources. I think it's really neat looking. There's your shutter release. Let's see, you can't tell. Oh, wait. Oh, there we go. There it is. You can see the shutter releases. That's about as good as it gets. If I do, oh wait, I can set it to bulb. The shutter release being right here on the front, you can see it will open and close, and it actually stays open on the T setting. Again, because I didn't find the manual, I don't know what they called that. B being bulb, that was something that still stays on cameras today, but there's the shutter release. As long as you hold it down, that holds open, and apparently the T will just hold it open until you hit it again for really long exposures. That's really cool. I like that feature. That's not something I see on too many of these cameras. Now, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe for tripod is the best thing I can think of as why there would be a hole here and a hole here. And I guess that kind of makes sense, because if you're going to put it here for taking a horizontal photo, then you would have this piece, which mine, unfortunately, is very stuck and does not. I've seen others where this flips up, so maybe that's your viewfinder for when you're taking it horizontal. Or if you want to have it mounted here on the bottom, I don't know why it would be off to the side instead of more centered, but both of them are off to the side. So maybe it's for weight distribution, judging on where it would sit. It's about the best guess that I have for something like this. I didn't see anyone else version online who had a hole here. I would say that maybe someone custom drilled this in, but there is actually a metal frame inside of here that has that hole. Like, it's got the hole punch cut out. That is manufactured to be that way. Similarly with the rivet that's in here, not a rivet, but the screw holes that are in here. That's the best guess I have for why those are there, is for tripod mounting. But that is unfortunately all I know about this camera here. It really isn't all that much compared to other ones that we found, and that's something I've discovered as I'm researching these old cameras. You'll find more has, lasted the test of time if it was a big technological improvement and people were really interested in it. But when they were just kind of churning out model after model, not too much really, unless there's a little snippet being like, here are some of the improvements that they made, and that was it. So there really wasn't all that much that I could find about this one in particular. I really like it. I don't know why. I just have an attraction to things. Nope. I really like it. I don't know why. I really like things that have a folding bellows. I just like the look of something like that, and I think it's pretty neat. I'm really excited to have this on the shelf behind me. Next week, we've got another old film camera that we're going to look at, again, courtesy of my dad, who sends me a package of a couple of them at a time. It's great. Thanks, Dad. Goes without saying, but looking over all these old cameras, researching and learning about this stuff is something that I like. It'll just stay like this.